Welcome to episode 3 of the True North podcast, where we discuss all things men's mental, emotional, and physical health. Today, we've got a very special guest with us, Nick Valdovinos, who's a guy I've known for a couple of years now. He's one of the mentors in the Lighthouse Project community, and he's here today to share with us his journey with depression and anxiety and his journey with medication as well. It's a story that's going to resonate with loads of you guys out there. It's certainly experience I went through as well. So welcome, Nick.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. Definitely excited.
So tell us a bit about, I guess, the big picture of your story. We've done a lot of work together. If we start with when you first kind of recognized these feelings, these experiences, how you labeled them, what you went through with them.
Yeah, I would say this started over a decade ago, leading up to a bad breakup with the girl. Just sort of started spiraling out of my control. And then once I noticed it was a problem, it was not too late, but it turned into a hospital visit, which led to a diagnosis of being depressed, just having severe depression, and then got placed on medication, which I struggled to stay on. Is this really me? I don't like having to take a medication, and back and forth for a couple of years. And then fast forward to my son being born 2 years ago, really just brought all of that right back up. Turned into another doctor visit, maybe a 10-minute phone call, labeled with severe depression again, placed on 2 medications this time, which just amplified. The dosage just turned into 5, 6, 7 pills a day, every day, and that was it for the rest of my life.
Yeah, you were telling me about your kind of journey with the dosage, which just seems crazy to me. I mean, I was prescribed medication about 15 years ago, and I never went on it. But this is a challenge with it, right? Because it doesn't solve any of the problems. It just masks it. And in fact, if it's not working and you go back to the people that are prescribing you the drugs, they just increase the drugs, right? So tell us a little bit about your kind of dosage journey.
Yeah, when I first started the medication over a decade ago, it was, I would say, like 5 milligrams. It was maybe half of that, leading up to, I think, 15 milligrams of an antidepressant, and then almost 1,300 milligrams of a mood stabilizer. And these pills, they're horse pills that came in like a mason jar. And it just, anytime I message, these were just messages between me and my doctor. Hey, I'm feeling depressed. It was met with, increase this by 5 milligrams starting tomorrow. Let me know in a week how you're feeling. No questions asked.
Yeah, I've got my own very strong opinions on that. I think it's negligence. I think it's a disservice to people that are struggling with a genuine experience.
They're giving up.
Tell me about so there's 2 sides to it. There's one which was your reality, so how you are feeling on a daily basis. Maybe you can go into that a little bit. And then what effects you think the drugs were having on you as well at the same time?
A good one. My reality at the time, I would notice I'd wake up and I would feel completely different than how I felt the day before. And I assumed this medication isn't strong enough. This medication is the healing I need. I didn't know I was just completely, just completely removing myself from my body, from my emotions. I didn't know I was just masking it. I thought it was actually fixing that physical pain I was feeling.
It's a great point, actually, and I don't know the answer to this. But what was your expectation, or what was your understanding of these drugs that you were taking? What were they supposed to be doing?
Fixing me.
Do you even know? Like, do people even tell you?
No, just take this pill. You're going to feel better. You're not going to. I assumed I would feel better, I wouldn't feel anything.
Yeah. But now we know what that experience is. Now we know that depressive experience is the attachment to repressed emotions. And again, we'll get into that into a bit more detail It might be a foreign concept to some people, but it's not foreign to us at the Lighthouse Project. The attachment to repressed emotion creates the experience. So attachment to sadness and hopelessness and loneliness and low self-esteem, that track, that narrative, those emotions constantly cycling around in your body, that creates the experience. And the medication, as far as I can see or understand, attempts to kind of cut that. And I think they do actually work for some people that are on the brink of suicide and can't manage those feelings at all. They can help to reduce the severity of those feelings. But again, you're never going to get to the bottom of those feelings with a medication because it cuts you off from them. So what's that feeling like when you're on the meds and you've got this disconnect?
Remember, really remember after my son was born, getting back on the medications and that dosage was really amplified. I remember this feeling of dying, feel like me as a person, personality, everything inside of me is just sort of going quiet. And that was pretty sad to experience. But at the time, I thought, this is good because what I was just going through, what my wife was just experiencing from me was so rough. I need to do this to fix me and to help my family out.
We know that the depression is caused by low self-esteem and the emotions that you're experiencing. So you dampen that down, and that's a sad feeling. So you're replacing the sadness of the repressed emotions with the sadness of dampening yourself down. But also you're like, well, that's a good thing because I'm broken, I'm wrong, right? I'm this person that's depressed. So you're resigned to the fact that that person just needs to be quietened and that person needs to go away, which is then a reaffirming of the low self-esteem in some ways.
Like a snake eating itself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, so you were going through that for what, 10 or 15 years?
Yeah, I would say 2011 was the year it started. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and again, I've worked with over 500 men. There are hundreds of those guys that have experienced the same thing,
Yeah.
right? You reached out to me a year and a half ago or something. Tell me about what state you were in then, what was going on in your life, and why you decided to do something different.
Well, I was trying to balance therapy. I was paying for therapy out of my own pocket. Wasn't working. I've been down that road. I've done group therapy. I've been hospitalized. I'm never going back. It's terrible, it's scary. It's not me. The day I showed up, I knew this is not it. And the medication thing, it, sure, I didn't feel sad. My emotions weren't all over the place, sure. But at 34, to be placed on these horse pills for the rest of my life, like that's not an answer. How come there's other people around me who don't need to take this? There's something I'm missing here. And then when you and I met, we started this work in this process. It was immediate, that question of, right, so this medication you're on, what sort of conversations are we having about anything? Your relationship with your parents, your wife, your children, what was your childhood like? None of that I had ever been asked, ever.
So you were diagnosed with depression and you were prescribed medication for the rest of your life without any conversation about childhood experience, past trauma, anything of that sort.
No goals set up. No, it really felt like my prescribing doctor wasn't rooting for me to to do something so that I never have to see her again. We want to get you better, get you on your way, get you out of here. Whereas this work, I have the tools I need to turn away and never come back. I don't,
Yeah.
you know,
That's what I say to people. I say, I do not want to see you in 6 months' time.
Yeah, it's true.
What about the therapy you did and the group therapy? Did that not dive into your past? Did that not bring anything up or give you any solutions?
The individual therapy I paid for out of pocket was just, it felt like me just talking into the screen. I see my therapist and she would maybe ask a question about, how was your week last week? Okay, tell me more. Tell me more. Tell me more. That's interesting. And it just felt like I was talking to a semi-interested friend
Yeah.
versus
An expert
therapist.
with any answers at all. It's a joke. I mean, just talking about it makes me angry. It's some kind of racket. And the people that go to therapy, there's two types of them mainly that I meet. Number one, some people do have a good experience when they first go because they're like, oh, I've got some kind of help. I've got some kind of support. I'm talking to somebody that's like better than nothing. So they have an initial release, those types of people, but then they figure out pretty quickly that they're just in like a circular problem, and it doesn't get any better. Or you got people that are like, yeah, I've known my therapist for like 15 years and yeah, we're great friends. I'm like, that's not a solution. That's just like a lifelong client relationship that benefits the therapist. I
Yeah,
even had
just no.
one guy said to me, look, I really want to do this work with you, but I'm too afraid that I'll upset my therapist if I tell them that I'm not going to work with them anymore. This was like after 10 years.
That's already too far gone.
It's crazy.
Yeah. But the group therapy, yeah, it's really just what's on your mind. Bring it up. What's on your mind, which I feel like is just your attachment to an emotion of what you're thinking. It's not. It's what you want to share with in a group setting with
Mm.
people. Not for me.
Yeah, again, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but it's not a long-term solution because there's no framework to it. Like, why are you doing that? There's a thing in the UK called Andy's Man's Club, and people get together and they talk, and it's good for companionship or it's good to not feel alone. But what are you doing? Like, why are you there? What are the steps to getting any better? Like
Yeah.
they don't exist. We'll move on and talk a little bit about the work and the protocol a bit later. But when we started talking, we started matching your symptoms and what you're experiencing now to your childhood experiences. Do you want to tell or share? I know it can be a vulnerable subject, but do you want to share as much as you want about what you realized about your experiences in your childhood and how they were linked to this depressing experience?
Yeah. I just remember the most powerful thing I felt we noticed was rejection. I'm being rejected by everyone, everything around me, and it turns into loneliness and isolation. And what really brought that up from inside of me was my son being born, being a newborn child, just meeting his mother, and me wanting to step up and provide for him. And I just felt rejected by him, and I took it extremely personally. And I felt like that just exposed this sadness and rejection from inside of me from these traumatic experiences I had as a child.
Yeah, it's a great point. So you've got your life in front of you, which is like a mirror to all of your stuff that shows up all of your baggage that you're carrying around. You've got a relationship with a child, and your desire to be a good dad and him not particularly needing you in those early months was triggering
Yeah,
old feeling of rejection.
yeah,
And that happens with children, that happens in relationship, that happens at work, that happens in different aspects of everybody's life. But the challenge is for men that we attach to it in that moment. We believe that that experience is the thing that's triggering that emotion. Yeah,
yeah,
the woman that's controlling or treats us badly or is absent, or the child that's we perceive as being ill disciplined or rejecting us, or whatever it is, these feelings come up to be processed from the past, but we don't appreciate that. We attach them in the moment, and that then causes further dysfunction.
it just amplified. It just, right after he was born, it just started to amplify. That feeling just got louder and louder and louder until one day it was just too much.
And you were
Let's
saying it
see.
was causing dysfunction with you and Karen, and you were arguing and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
turned into anger. Yeah. irritability. Yeah.
Yeah, I think anger's often a byproduct of the trauma. So for
Yeah.
you, you had a childhood experience, and again, like many men, when we started working together, you had a story that your childhood was great. You spend a lot of time with your siblings, playing outside. Mum and dad were
Hmm.
together. Like it was cool, right? It was no problems.
Yeah. My mom, stay at home mom, and babysat as a side gig, as my dad was the sole provider, it felt like, for quite a few years. So we always had friends over. What kid doesn't want to have their friends over, 4 to 5 days a week and then all summer long? It was amazing. And then you start diving in deeper. There's a lot of empty space, a lot of gaps in that story that are filled with traumatic experiences.
Yeah, so that's again a very similar story with a lot of men. We paint a positive picture of our childhood because that is a high functioning way to go. You don't want to necessarily focus on the negative. But the problem is the body's storing the negative story of the childhood, whereas the mind is telling us the positive story.
Yeah. And that's where I feel like we that's where we fail in therapy. Therapy is just what our mind remembers, wants us to remember.
Exactly. So so we know for us, the solutions are all in the body. The solutions are all in the emotion that's in the body. What was your journey like then, switching from just talking and this story that you had about your childhood? What was the journey like for you actually exploring the emotions? Do you want to talk a bit about the process from your point of view?
Yeah, it was a whole new world. Listening to my own voice, my intuition, sitting there and just listening to my emotions. I felt like I hadn't done that for a very, very long time. I couldn't remember the last time I'd done it was probably as a child. It was rather confusing at first. I would still attach and listen to this inner dialogue of just telling myself these lies or whatever, just attach to that emotion. And it's trickery. It's not, it's not me, right? It's the trauma trying to come out, trying to let itself out of the bottle. And here I am trying to protect myself from that, whatever. And it's something I'm still learning to listen to because I spent so much of my life not listening to it, not listening to my own voice, own thoughts and opinions out of fear of I'm not going to be loved for who I am. I'm going to get bullied for who I am and who I want to be and things I like. It's still coming out. I'm still getting to know that me. I just turned 35 and I'm just getting to really experience things I truly enjoy doing for probably the first time in a very long time.
That's amazing. Yeah, I want to. It's a really important point you touched on then. So we have these experiences, perceived experiences. They don't even have to be real, but it's how we perceive them. So you can feel rejected as a child. Maybe it's nobody's fault. Maybe your dad's giving you unconditional love and trying to push you to be the best person you can be, or he's absent, he's working, whatever. Or your mum's overwhelmed, your mum's anxious, your needs aren't being met. That's the kind of trauma we're talking about here. It's called developmental trauma, but it's when your needs aren't met, you internalize that, you take it personally. Two things happen. One, you have the negative voice. Yeah, I'm not good enough. I don't deserve to be happy. I'll be rejected if I'm myself, right? The three examples that you gave. And then there's the emotion of that, the sadness, the anger, the loneliness, the hopelessness. And you came out of your childhood experience as carrying that baggage with that internal dialogue and with that emotional baggage. And it's really interesting the way you phrased it because there's a difference between attachment and listening. So people that have got low self-worth or depressed, they are attaching to that perceived view of self and they're attaching to the sadness and the loneliness in their body. And that's creating the experience they've got now. And part of releasing that whole experience is about switching the attachment to the listener, the witnesser of all of those things. And once you switch that up and you recognize, oh, that's not my inner voice, right? That's the inner voice of my inner child who perceived that he wasn't good enough. decades ago, right? That's the sadness and loneliness of that part of me that felt that and couldn't express it decades ago. You can start listening without attaching. And when you do that, all of these things, they actually dissolve in many ways. Right? It's not an easy process. You want to attach, you want to repress. Like the listening thing, it sounds easy. It sounds like you can switch a switch and just let go of all this stuff. But let's talk a little bit about your experience with that, because it's different for everyone and it is challenging.
Yeah, to not attach is it's tricky. It's really tricky. Oh, it's so hard to describe. Yeah, to not attach and to just sit there and listen and witness. It requires that the only thing you need to actively do is I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, it's difficult. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's really hard.
you need to create safety, right? Within yourself, within your environment, and safety and regulation in your body is helps with that kind of, and you need distance between these emotions and the witnesser, the listener. And that comes with safety sometimes. Also comes from changing the inner voice, because with that low self-worth comes a critic, right? You're not good enough. You believe you're not good enough, right? Because that was your experience. And then that becomes your inner voice. So you turn it in on yourself.
Yeah.
So it needs a kind of a shift from, and part of the shift comes from recognizing that you were an innocent child when you experienced all this stuff. And it comes from committing to reparenting that part of you. And that's where you switch from the critic to bringing self-compassion and safety into that space. But like I said, that's hard.
Yeah, I do find myself, I'll say out loud the dialogue that I need to hear, that I know I need to hear, that I wouldn't want to tell my own children. Not having children, I see could pose maybe a little bit of a difficulty to be able to using your child as a reference. It kind of helps a little bit, but looking looking at yourself as a child, how did you want to be treated? How did you want to be talked to? How are you feeling right now? These emotions, what needs to be said? I'll say it out loud. Seems to help too because it's
Amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, that creates a new environment. That creates almost, that gives you the detachment in that moment. You're the one creating a new dialogue. You're the one holding space for the child. You're the one witnessing all of your emotions. And then suddenly, once you've got distance, it's easier to spot them when they come up. But they do trick you, like you said. They do, like when you're doing this, that voice can come in that says, you can't do this, you're doing it wrong, or whatever it is. And it's really easy to attach to that and it to trip you up.
Yeah. Yeah. I start with look, this space, this mind, this room we're in, no one can touch you, no one can hurt you, no one can yell at you. No harm will come from any emotion, anything you want to do, scream, shout, yell, cry, run from it, fear, nothing touch you. And you're loved, you're safe.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
amazing. Because a lot of the trauma that we experience, especially as men, comes from the inability to express the emotions when we first experience them. So, and to enable our inner child to express and release, we need to change that environment and create an environment of safety where they can just let go. That's step number one in the process. Let go of the baggage, right? Once you let go of the baggage, there's no sadness to attach to, loneliness, hopelessness. All those experiences are released, so you can't attach to them anymore. But also then you're left with that inner child, that one with the self-doubt and the critic. And that's when you can really parent that part of you, change that experience. Again, not easy because you don't know how to do it. But like you said, that's when having children really helps, because you can model your parenting, the way you treat your child, to your inner child. I'd say probably it's probably 100% the guys that are in the community are dads, actually. Yeah, it's not because we don't welcome non-dads. I think this work is hard and we don't do it until we have kids, because the main motivation is I don't want to fuck my kids up. I don't want to Like I have a good intention of being a good father, but there's something that's getting in my way of being the father I want to be.
Yeah, yeah. There's absolutely something in the way of me being the dad, just the person I know I truly am, and then on top of that, the dad and the husband that I really know I can be and am at the end of the day. And I feel like just what's on the table, what's there to be lost if I don't get this kind of figured out is life changing.
Yeah, let's get back to the meds. So you tapered off your meds through the process over a period of a few months. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, just the first session we had, even before it started, I knew within me I did not like being on my meds. I was on them because that was prescribed, and I just wanted to be a good boy, right? And you and I pretty quickly both agreed. And I was hoping you would say, like, hey, what do you think about not being on meds? Yeah, I don't want to be on them. And so I talked with my doctor, and that was a fight. That was a fight to get off my meds. I told her, and it turned into like an hour-long conversation. And all she met me with was doubt. Look, these are the reasons you're here. You're still experiencing them. You need to be on your medication. And that's that.
So who made the decision eventually for you to taper off the meds? Did you have to do it yourself or did you get some guidance?
No, my doctor ended up working out. I was able to convince my own doctor to help me come up with the plan to taper off the medication. But it took my intuition at the end of the day, right? It took me sticking up for myself. And I was warned by, I think maybe you warned me or my brother warned me, hey, you might really see some pushback on this. I don't think doctors are used to seeing a lot of pushback on getting off of mental health medications, and sticking up for myself like that, I knew it was going to happen. Yeah, it was an argument.
Yeah, but the amazing thing about that is number one, you gotta listen to release. Okay, so you can feel the reality of what's going on in your body when it's not cut off with the meds. Not easy because that can feel more overwhelming, that can feel more powerful.
Yeah.
But like you mentioned, when you start releasing some of the baggage and start integrating some of those parts of you that didn't feel good enough, that's when you start getting the gold, the good stuff. That's when you start connecting to your intuition and what you want, and you start turning up for yourself, and you start living again, really.
Yeah, not only do you start experiencing maybe some of the hard stuff, the sadness, the anger, but you start experiencing all of the wonderful things again too. Remember that simple joy. I took my son out for a hike. A year and a half old, I took him out for a hike, and that pure joy afterwards, after I put him down for his nap, like, that was such a beautiful hike we went on. He had such a good time. I just cried tears of joy over it. I was so happy.
Yeah, the simple things in life can bring us so much joy when we're just present and embodied in that moment. So just to finish that point off, I wouldn't recommend anyone coming off meds unless you've got a process that will enable you to deal with the feelings that come up.
Yeah.
Right. But there's nothing that you can't witness, listen to, release. Doesn't matter what your experiences were in the past. When you connect and listen to your body and have a mechanism to let go, then your body will only release the stuff that you can manage in that moment. Yeah. So if you want to get off your medication, then learn the process, the protocol of witnessing and releasing, and learn how to speak to those parts of you that hold on to that emotion so you can manage it all, you can handle it all from that present moment. And then you don't need the meds anymore. Then you can start living your life again. So talk a little bit about that experience. I know your journey's not over, the healing will continue to be done, but talk a bit about your relationship with your wife, your son, your relationship with your work, what's happening in your life.
Yeah, I've noticed. I've noticed a great change. I settled. I realized one part of this my relationship with work is I settled. I thought this job was great. It has great benefits, and of course, there are things about it I love. But the thing I don't enjoy about it is the the actual work. It's not what I want to do with my life. And then beside the work, My relationship with my wife is a more present. I listen more. I'm more helpful. I'm not someone that my wife, she comes home from work, she needs to read the room. Okay, is Nick sad? Is he happy? Is he mad? Is he frustrated? It's more of a baseline to the room that's more predictable every day, more easy to live with, I guess.
Yeah.
And then with my son, my 2-year-old son now, I'm more of a parent than anything. I can help him out. I can be safety. I can be comfort for him when he needs me. And I'm not there using him to get joy out of him. No, I'm there to serve my son now. I'm there to make sure that his space, his safety is number one.
Yeah, you told me a beautiful story about that even in the process when you realized that I'm trying to unconsciously get my needs met by my son to feel worthy. And your son kind of felt that energy in a way and he was like, "No, that's not what I want to go towards. That's not safe for me." And then there was
Yeah.
there was a point in the process where that energy shifted and you'd done the work with your own inner child. You'd taken care of your own self-worth. And then didn't change who you were or what you were doing, but your energy was different. And then your son started coming to you.
Yeah, I remember that would be how we gauged things for a little bit. And I remember you and I had a laugh about it. Just what kind of son wants to go to their dad with this energy of holy cat, like too much energy. This guy, he needs me to hug him. Like, what am I supposed to do as a 1-year-old child? I don't that's too
Yeah.
much. And then a session, a couple weeks went by and this script was just completely flipped 180 degrees and he fell, bumped his head or something, and there we were in the room. I just got down on my knee, kind of my wife is between me and him, and he pushed right past my wife, right past his own mother, came over to me, and I scooped him up, and I just looked at my wife like, "Holy shit, this just happened."
Something's changed.
Yeah,
And essentially, what was happening in that moment is that the 5-year-old version of you that needed love was trying to comfort a 1-year-old. And so the 1-year-old's like, I don't need a 5-year-old right now. I need my dad. I need a
yeah,
man.
yeah,
And that's it's the same with our wives, they need a man to hold space, create safety in the room, be the presence, be the lighthouse as we call it. Turning up solid, present. Women are more emotional than us, right? So we need to take responsibility to heal those parts of ourselves that are showing up in our adult relationships, in our parenting, so we can turn up and be the men that our wives want us to be and the dads that our children need. I think
absolutely,
that's for me is the most rewarding part of this work.
no question.
Yeah. Obviously, it's about being the men we want to be as well. This is not about just service. This is about filling our own cup and living a purposeful or authentic life. But in terms of relationship, it's about how we turn up in the household. What would you say to men who are, I guess, resonate with your story, that are feeling depressed, being diagnosed with depression, on medication, and want to do something about it?
For a long time, I felt it feels like a long time. And sure, it was a long time. But those minutes you're driving alone, those nights you're awake and you just feel completely alone. Nobody understands what I'm going through. This is it. My life is set in stone. I'm depressed. I can't figure it out. Nothing in life is handed to us on a silver platter. I feel very strongly this was my silver platter. This is the absolute answer. The muscle, the skills, and the techniques we learn and we teach are were proof that this is the answer and solution to change your life forever, put you back to who you are.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I went on this journey myself. It took me a long time to figure this out and heal this stuff. And I got help from probably 50 different people in order to put this process together. And I've been lucky enough to witness the journey of over 500 men like Nick, like you. And only recently, the last 6 months, we've launched the Lighthouse Project, which is based on this protocol, based on the tool, based on the process. But it's men like me and Nick and Ben and Brian and Sam and guys that have been there and taken responsibility and done the work. And now there is a community of the and we want to help everybody. There are millions and millions of men out there that are suffering unnecessarily. There's a great quote that most men live a life of quiet desperation, right? And it's unnecessary. You don't need to be there. There are tools and there is a community that are here to help you. So if you want to find out more, go to jointhelighthouseproject.com. We've got all the tools and information you need. It's free to join up. So I'd like to thank you for listening and thank Nick for turning up and sharing his story.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.